Another Disney show is making a regional premiere a mere 40 minutes away from the enchanted sea of BDT. Candlelight Dinner Playhouse is producing the hit show Newsies.
It's a show about fighting for what you believe in and what you deserve. And it's kind of interesting being that it's a Disney show, and the first time I didn't get it, but as we've kept running it over and over, I've kind of realized that the entire show is about pushing for what you deserve.
It's very interesting how much it relates to today, especially in the political environment that we have, because it's pushing for civil rights. It's the civil rights movement of the Kids Act in terms of demanding, labor laws. And even though that didn't come into effect until later on in the 1900s, this is the movement that sparked that and ignited what would turn into various civil rights movements throughout the 1900s. Yeah.
I didn't remember listening to it a lot when I was a kid, but I remember every single person in my theater class was just running the music over and over and over again. And I never listened to Santa Fe on my own, but by the time I got to like my sophomore year of college, I was listening to it so much that I had the entire thing memorized. So it definitely has a cult following. And someone asked me to sing it at like a family get-together, and I was like, totally. And I was like, how do I have this memorized right now?
I think I would be probably considered a part of that cult following. Like,
Definitely.
I didn't follow the show right away because I was just getting into musical theater when the show came out in 2012. But actually, cool enough, I used to take classes and being part of the theater company down at the Denver Center for teens, and they actually did a condensed version of Newsies, and I got to be a part of that. I actually played Jack Kelly in that as well. And so I've already had an understanding and like a personal connection of sentimentality to this show, and I can honestly say it's one of my favorite shows.
Something that makes Newsies so different is that it is a predominantly male cast, and a cast that really has to dance in order to sell those papers. UNC seniors Logan, Traver, and Austin Mirsoltani have taken up the banner of this massive feat.
So I realized immediately I was not in the right shape that I needed to be for this show. But with this specific production, and because of my more inclined dance ability, they're having me be a part of all of the dancing. And so that, coupled with the amount of speaking and singing I have to do, is extremely taxing on myself, and I have been very anxious through the process. Like, I'm very excited, and it's a wonderful challenge, and I'm growing so much. It's a challenge, but I'm very excited because I've never been a part of a production that has pushed me to be so much better as a dancer, and I can't wait to share this with our audience because it's not so often that you get to see an entire ensemble of mostly men dance at this heightened level of ability. It's a unicorn of musical theater because I really can't, there's like maybe 2 or 3 other shows I could name that have, a predominant male ensemble that does the majority of dancing. And again, like I said, it's so exciting to be a part of that because it's a regional premiere of this show. Not many people have either heard or seen of this show, and it's so unique, such an experience that I can't wait for people to see it. And so being able to come into a professional environment and be able to work with other professionals in the field, mainly men, has been a unique and wonderfully affording experience because learning from their own experience, because they're much older than we are, has been a pleasure, and it's been great to kind of see the evolution of their talent with their age.
Just in general, there's not a lot of like male energy in most theater these days. But it is cool to just be around a bunch of men all doing the same thing. Yeah.
And we have pretty much bonded over the fact that, the dancing is ridiculously difficult. Right. And so when they're like, okay, so we have this 5-minute dance break, you're going to do like 1,000 turns and jumps, and then you're going to stop and sing. And I'm just like, so there's going to be a lot of lip syncing going on. They're like, you better sing. And I'm like, oh, God.
In a time when high school students are marching in the streets for what they believe in, Newsies, a show about teenagers striking, seems like an even more relevant and political choice.
It's very interesting, especially like today's day and age, like with, a big issue being like, the gun rights violations and everything, and like especially the mass shootings in schools. You have these young people, and the charges are being led by theater students and by kids that we identify with, and they're standing up against, the Pulitzers of the government, like the Trump administration and all these people who are denying these voices. And it's just fascinating to be able to draw from actual real life experiences you can identify with. You can identify with it on a personal level regardless of age, because even though it's done by young people, anybody of any age can identify with this story, and that's what's so powerful about it.
I don't know, you just look at any period of time and like the people who are like 15 to 30 are just like trying to make moves, trying to make things change. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's just part of human nature. So this show, and just in general, like this idea of fighting against something bigger than yourself for change bigger than yourself, I think is just something that if you can't relate to it now, you could have 20 years ago or however long ago. You know what I mean? So yeah, we are fighting for stuff now, and hopefully we win those fights. But there always will be a fight. You know what I mean? And so we'll always be able to relate to that.
Both Logan and Austin have been in several classes and shows together, and now the chance to spend a summer performing with one another is an experience they will never forget.
It's great.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, honestly.
We almost carpooled today.
Yeah, no, but I'm just like, I gotta stay longer than you, so we're just gonna go separately. No, honestly, it's been wonderful, actually. I wish I'd have the opportunity to work with more of my classmates, because when we're in school, we don't always get to have the opportunity to work together. Like, the main stage casting is very selective. Student work even then is also even more selective sometimes, and then especially in classwork, your professors typically will assign you your partners. And like, I mean, we have a class of like 20, 21 students, and of those 21 or so, I think I've only worked with about half in the last 3 years. And so being able to find professional opportunity together, it's wonderful because you get to put in practice the things that you've learned, and you get to support each other through these audition processes, because in the last few years, we've all gone on professional auditions together, and it's nerve-wracking as hell because, we're just young kids coming in, surrounded by professionals in the industry, and we feel like we have no chance. But being surrounded by each other, that camaraderie and just that friendship is an encouraging thought, and it shows where our careers are going and how these connections will help guide us in our future career paths.
Yeah, and it's great to see, like, Logan, like, we've been in the same class for 3 years, right? And we've been in, I think, a couple main stages together, Jesus Christ Superstar, West Side Story. Mm-hmm. So we've been in shows together before, but it's pretty incredible to see Logan, right, come in here to this professional setting, booking his dream role, right? This is your dream role.
It's in my top 3.
Dude,
sure.
This guy loves this show, okay? And he loves Jack
gross,
Kelly.
yeah.
And I see him come in completely off book first day of rehearsal. He's memorized for everything, right? And this is a professional gig. So it's crazy to see your friends go from practicing doing the work to doing the work and flourishing in the work.
And to give some love back to him, this kid over here.
Give it to me.
He's been a lead like 3 or 4 times at school, and he so much deserves it. They'll point out that a lot of the recent success, some people will say it's because of the training we receive, others will say it's personal drive and motivation, but it very much has to do with the individual, and it very much has to do with what you're willing to take out of the program. And the biggest thing that we learned from the success stories of UNC is that they sought opportunities outside of the university. And the biggest thing to know is you get out of the program what you put into it. So there are those people who are willing to settle and they'll just show up. Sure, they'll do their work, but they don't push themselves to be further, to be better. Whereas those people, Beth Malone's, the Andy Kelsos, the Aisha Jacksons of UNC, these programs, they're successful because they bust their asses.
UNC gives you the opportunity and all the tools to get as good as you want to, right? So the gym, always open, right? Always there for you. If you're looking to have that musical theater bod, it's there for you, right?
Yeah.
The practice rooms, always open, right? There's always a vocal professor that will take you up, right? Even if you're not taking vocal lessons, you can get them done privately, right? The acting professors, always there for you. And just in general, the music library, any music that you want, it's there for you at the music library. And if it's not there for you, they'll order it for you. So anything you want to get better at is there for you at UNC. And then it's your job as the student to take it.